Hello everyone, welcome to Literary Theory, Lesson 3 on Liberal Humanism. In the last class, we have discussed the basic tenets of Liberal Humanism. We have seen 5 of them, and today we will move on to the next 5. Before that, let us refresh our memory. The first point that we discussed was this: liberal humanism believes that good literature is timeless. Whichever may be the period, a good work of literature will be timeless, it will be applicable to, it will be relevant to any historical period, because the basic human element in them will make it relevant whichever may be the period in which it is written. That is, good literature is timeless. Secondly, meaning of the text comes from the text itself, not from the socio-political, cultural context of the text. So when you are trying to analyze the meaning of a text, you should look into the text itself, not the background from which the text is originating. The social background, political background, cultural background, etc. That is the second point. Then thirdly, to understand the text, it should be studied in isolation. This point is somewhat a continuation of the second point. In order to understand the text, you should study it in isolation. It should be kept away from other factors. Other factors like those factors we have discussed already, socio-political, cultural context, etc. It should be examined by close verbal analysis. The words, the combination of words which form sentences, you should analyze the words, the verbal analysis. So that is, in order to bring out the meaning of the text, you should read the text closely, especially the words in it or the sentences in it. Then human nature is unchanging throughout history. See, human nature, the liberal humanism, the title itself has something to do with humanism, human nature remains almost same, whichever may be the period. See a work of literature written in an ancient century, see a work of literature written today. There are certain points of human nature which remain same, whichever may be the period. So it is the belief of liberal humanists that human nature is unchanging. It remains same. Then 5, individuality of human personality or human being, individuality, character. It will not be affected by the forces of society, experience, language, etc. Individuality of human beings, it cannot be tampered. It cannot be influenced by forces of society, powers in society. It cannot be influenced by experience. It cannot be influenced by language. This is the belief of liberal humanism. So these are the 5 points that we have discussed in the last class, and today we are moving on to the next 5. The 6th one. Let us see what it is. Liberal humanism believes that the purpose of literature is enhancement of life and propagation of human values. This point is about the purpose of literature, why literature is written. Liberal humanism believes that the purpose of literature is enhancement of life, improvement of life, and propagation of spreading of human values. So liberal humanism considers that a good work of literature will be enhancing life and propagating human values. So, however, this should not be done as a propaganda. This should not be done as a propaganda. What is the meaning of this last statement? See, I will explain. By this we mean liberal humanism believes in giving messages through literature to improve life and to instill human values. However, this should not be done in a deliberate manner. See, the readers should not feel that this particular work is written in order to say all these messages. That messages should be part of the literary work. If so, if it is deliberate, if so, it will become a propaganda. Propaganda means promoting a particular idea or viewpoint through a medium. So, as far as liberal humanism is concerned, they believe that purpose of literature should be enhancing of life, but it should not be done in a deliberate manner. It should not be done as a propaganda. So, here is a quote, a Latin quote: "Life without literature is death." This quote tells about the importance of literature in life. So, the purpose of literature is development or improvement of enhancement of life as per the liberal humanists. Then the seventh one, the form and content of literature must be fused in an organic manner, in such a way that both are complementary to each other, that is, one depends on other. You might have noticed there are two elements in any literature: form and content. Form means the structure of the work. Content is what the text says. Form means structure of the work. Content is what the text says. To explain it in a different way, form is the way in which what it says is arranged. Form is the way in which what it says is arranged. See these definitions side by side. Content is what the text says. Form is the way in which what it says is arranged. So this is a good explanation of content and form. Content is what the text says. Form is the way in which what it says is arranged. They should not be separate. They should be fused in such a manner that form and content are dependent upon each other. So to have more explanation, form and content of literature can be divided like this: the plot, the setting, the characters, language, style, etc. belong to the form, and content means theme of it, the conflict, message, lesson, philosophy of a literary work. So these both should not be separate. It should be complementary to each other, that is, it should be dependent upon each other. So that is the seventh point. Then eighth point, liberal humanists believe that sincerity is a quality which is present within the language of literature. Once again, sincerity is a quality which is present within the language of literature. So how to find this sincerity that lies within the language of literature? Before moving into that point, I think we should say what is the meaning of sincerity in this context. Sincerity here means truthful to experience, being truthful towards experience. Then honesty towards ourselves. Then capacity for human empathy and compassion. So these are sincerity. These are the meanings. So what is the role of sincerity in literature as far as liberal humanists are concerned? See, sincerity should be seen in avoidance of cliché or over-exaggerated expression of feeling, usage of individual descriptions, expressing feelings in suggestive manner, etc. So this is how a writer should maintain sincerity in literature. 1. Avoid cliché. Avoid over-exaggerated expression of feeling. Avoid an excess of emotional content in literature. Then usage of individual descriptions, describing by individual elements, individual descriptions of people, characters. That is also viewed as sincerity. Then expressing emotions in a suggestive manner, rather than describing emotions in a direct manner. It will be better if we do that in a suggestive manner. Thus, the distance between the words and things will be reduced. If you are using this sincerity, the distance between words and things will be reduced. Then, so avoidance of cliché, we have said. What do you mean by cliché? Cliché is a phrase or opinion that is overused and betrays a lack of original thought. See, there are certain words in our literature which has lost its power because of overusing such words or phrase, etc. Can be called as a cliché. Some words which are overused. Then 9. Showing and telling. See, liberal humanists believe that showing is considered as superior to telling. Showing means demonstrating of something, telling means explaining it. You will understand it very easily if you see this particular example. Showing. John wiped tears down his face as he watched his girlfriend board the plane. Then the same example, telling. John was sad to see his girlfriend leave. See, the first one tells about John's reaction. John wiped tears down his face as he watched his girlfriend board the plane. When we read this description, we conclude from these expressions that he is sad. But telling directly tells us John was sad to see his girlfriend leave. So in showing, we have to assume from the description, while in telling, it is directly conveyed to us. So in literature, showing is considered as superior method, because in showing we had to do some work. Liberal humanism prefers that. Here you can see another example of showing and telling. Telling is like this: the kids were disrespectful to the teacher. Then showing is like this: kids continue to whisper and pass notes during the teacher's lessons. They rudely talked loudly when they were asked not to. Several students made faces to her back when she wasn't looking, like that. Then 10th and the last one, what is the purpose of criticism? The purpose of criticism is to interpret the text. That is, to stand in between the text and the reader. Theorizing about the method of criticism is useless, as it will restrict interpretation by placing itself between reader and the text. What is the meaning of this? What is the purpose of literature as far as liberal humanists are concerned? The purpose of criticism is to interpret the text. That is, to stand in between the reader and the text, to make the text more intelligible, more clear to the reader. So the criticism should stand in between the text and the reader. Then theorizing about the method of criticism. See, there is no use of saying a lot about the method of criticism in a critical work. It is useless. So it will restrict the interpretation. It will stand in between the reader and the text. So we have seen the next 5 tenets. In total, the previous lesson and this lesson both together tells the 10 basic tenets of liberal humanism. So go through both of them again and again. Try to understand the concept. Thank you.